Steve, you've obviously had 5 or 6 days to reflect on what happened last weekend. Does it get any easier when you've had time to review the tape?
Well, the one thing we did do, particularly in the first half, which was pleasing, was how well we played. That was the most important thing for me, is that we produced a performance. And then, unfortunately, after that, we all know what happened. You know, the sending off, which even Mike Riley, when I rang him, agrees with me, was harsh. But when things aren't going for you, they're not going for you. And that's been the story of our season so far. You know, we've played well, performances have been decent. We haven't really picked up the points what we'd like to pick up. So that's what, as I've said repeatedly, the Premier League can throw at you. You know, it's our turn. We've got to make sure that we stay positive and you know, but we can take lots of positives out of last week in the first half in particular, because against a really good side, we played very well.
You've been in the game for a while. You've seen pretty much everything it has thrown. You seem quite level-headed and grounded about the situation Hullering now. How do you ensure that you're able to convey that to your players?
Well, that's always the difficult part of management, isn't it? You know, there's no disputing. You know, a couple of weeks ago against Burnley, it was nowhere near. But as I've said repeatedly, you know, if in this league, if we're Hull City, then you know, we're capable of getting beat in the Barclays Premier League. It's all about performances and making sure that you do everything you can to keep the squad as good as they can be. Of course, when you get beaten, there's a few doubts come in and creep in. You've got to keep everybody positive and make sure that they believe in what you're doing, because it's, you know, somebody told me a stat the other day, which I don't know whether it's a good thing or bad thing, but if I had been playing for 82 minutes in all the games, we'd be 5th top. You know, we've conceded 5-6 times now late on in a game, which has been very, very costly to us. So there's not a lot wrong. We've just got to stay with it. We've got a really difficult run of games, as we knew we had for the last 4 or 5 weeks. And now we're coming to a big critical part of the season. We've got, starting in December, something like 7 games coming up in a short period of time. So let's hope we can turn it around.
Do you as manager have to guard against the players getting overawed by the situation?
I don't think they're overawed. I think there's a disappointment creeps in. There's a disappointment creeps in, but I'm sure that most managers in the bottom half of the division will say exactly the same thing. Things could have gone either way. There's 3-4 points between 10 teams, so it's one of them difficult ones. I didn't think, you know, up until last week, Tottenham being the bottom half of the division, I didn't expect Liverpool to be in the bottom half of the division, but it's one of them strange seasons so far. But one thing that doesn't change is how difficult it is. Every team's got good players, and every other week you're going to play one of the big games and big teams of Europe. So starting with tomorrow and on Wednesday, we've got 2 really difficult back-to-back away games, but let's go and try and play with the enthusiasm which we showed last week, and I'm sure we'll do okay.
Manchester United tomorrow at Old Trafford, Everton at Goodison midweek next week. What would represent a good return then for Hull City?
Well, we knew by the end of December really would have been to most of the top teams away from home, which is always going to be difficult. It was always going to be a difficult start to the season for us. And as I said, we could quite easily be 4, 5, 6 points better off, and we'd like to be in that situation. The one thing that you've got to try and do is, we went to the Emirates a month ago. We went to Anfield 4 or 5 weeks ago and picked up a result. We've got to remain positive and hope that we can play like we did in them 2 games and make sure that we try and take something from the game.
Manchester United goes out saying that they're a big club, you know that better than most. But is a trip to Old Trafford now a less daunting prospect than it was?
Well, I'm not going to say that now. I've been gone a long time in it, and I've never been able to get a result. I've had a couple of draws now and again, so I know how difficult it is. And they've just had a great result themselves last week at Arsenal. You know, very quietly they're creeping into, they're now 4th. They've had unbelievable injuries which they've seemed to have dealt with, which a big club can. So whenever you play against them, the one thing you're going to have to do yourself, as I say repeatedly against the big teams, is you're going to have to perform yourself. You're going to have to play to a level which I need every one of them who plays tomorrow to play to a level which he'll cause up Man U a problem, and hope that on the day that you play to your maximum and catch Man U at a bit of an off day, and hope that we can get a result.
Well, the criticism of Manchester United this season has been that defensively they haven't been anything like as solid as they have in previous years. Do you see that as an opposing manager looking at them?
Well, I think when you look, I mean, has he been able to field his first 11? Has he been able to play the back four, which he, in his own mind, which is the back four? When you see two young kids playing last week at Arsenal and getting a result there, then they've been, as I said, racked with injuries, especially defensively. You know, the boy they've signed, Rojo, and Johnny Evans just getting back fit. All of these people are key, and no matter whether you're Manchester United or whether you're Hull, you need your big players fit. You need your big players fit for the vast majority of it. And to be fair to them, I don't think they've had the opportunity to, with the injuries. I've seemed to have read somewhere that this season they've had something like 40 injuries, which is quite remarkable. And even the list that they've got now. So I hope that grows a little bit from tomorrow. But yeah, I don't think you can judge anything until you get your big team fit and ready to go.
And just finally, Aaron Lennon's obviously been strength first team football down at Spurs. It's been suggested this week that you might be interested in bringing him here on loan. Is there anything in that?
No, well, it's impossible for me to do any loans anyway because we've got Ben Arthur and Ramirez, so you're only allowed two. But I haven't genuinely even looked at January just yet. I'm very, very happy with the squad. We've made big changes in the summer. Some of them players are just now starting to bed in and get ready for the challenges ahead, and I'm sure we will get better as the season goes on because we made big changes in the summer, and at the moment I'm very, very happy with the squad, and I haven't really looked to January.
Steve, do you, despite your record as a visiting manager at Old Trafford, do you still get the same buzz about going back to the old place?
Well, it's a long time since I played there, but you know, I was fortunate enough to play there for nearly 10 years, and when I was a player against them or a manager, you know, if there's anything about you want to go and play or be involved on the big stage, and there's certainly no bigger stage. So it's always nice to go back. I'm due a result. The law of averages says maybe it's my time, but it's always been difficult. So maybe without Sir Alex being there, we might have a chance. But I've always enjoyed going back, like all the big arenas in this country, you know. But certainly Manchester United, for obvious reasons, is something a bit special.
Well, congratulations. We've calculated, we'd reckon it's 700 games up for you as a manager. And can you believe that that's come round at Old Trafford of all places?
Well, it's quite ironic. Since I think my first one was, at Sheffield United, if I'm not wrong, I think we were drew against Hartlepool in the Cup. So from the first one to the 700th, I think 988 as a player and 700 as a manager. That's a lot of Saturday afternoons. But I've been fortunate. I've been in the game a long, long time. It's been fantastic. I never thought I would do 700 after the early days, which I found it very, very difficult. But 700, I never thought that would be possible, but I'll try and enjoy the occasion.
Well, I hope so too. We've managed to dig out some pictures of you on your first day at work at Sheffield United.
Bit different, am I? Slightly.
Like Alex, that is
I mean, Alex looks like me, yeah.
So,
well, I'll make sure that Alex doesn't go into management.
But how have you changed from that fresh-faced manager? You were, what, 38 years of age, I think, at the time, to how you are now?
Well, it came all so quickly, if I remember back. You know, at the time, I was convinced that I wanted to work with a youth team I had soccer schools at the time, which I was thinking of taking nationwide and going into deprived areas. And I remember I had a meeting with sponsors and things like that, preparing what was going to be next. And then all of a sudden I got a phone call to say would I be prepared to be player manager at Sheffield United. And for that phone call I'm always grateful. It was a difficult time to take over at Sheffield, but it was a sharp learning curve. Very, very quickly I learned what management was all about. And in them younger days, just like any young manager at the time, I found it very, very difficult. It's a difficult, difficult job. And when you seem to get in, when you think you're older and more experienced, it's still very, very difficult. There's no disputing that. But as I've said at the top of the interview there, I've been very, very fortunate. I've been in football practically all my life. A few months here and there out of the game, but I'm still standing and keep on fighting and keep trying to improve. And I think that's the thing about management. You know, you arguably get better with age.
What are the sort of outstanding memories, good or bad, from those early days at Sheffield United?
Sheffield United, I mean Sheffield, not just Sheffield United. I mean Huddersfield. We sell with centre forward when we're 12 games to go, and you're selling your centre forward. That still stays, and I think the Huddersfield fans still blame me now. You know, but no, I mean, you know, you go down the route of managing, and I've managed at a few places now, and they're all different. They're all different. The one thing that you do learn is not just managing the team, but managing above you and in the boardroom and who owns the club and all the rest of it is a big learning curve for a young manager, and I think that's vitally important too.
A long spell at Birmingham City, 2 spells at Wigan Athletic. How do you judge your time at Hull City against your previous managerial appointments?
Well, up until 3 weeks ago, we were doing okay at Hull, and then obviously we've lost 3 on the trot or whatever it is. You know, no disrespect to Hull or Birmingham or Wigan or Sunderland, then you know that you're going to be in the bottom half of the division of the Premier League, and you're always striving to take it into the top half if you can. And of course, all the clubs, a bit like the club I'm at now, we need to stay here, and that becomes difficult. There's 48 teams played in the Premier League since it started. 8 have been there since day one. So them other 41 teams have been competing for the other 12 positions. So that shows you how difficult it is, but it's my aim to make sure that the club progresses, gets bigger. I'd like to think I left Birmingham in a really, really healthy state. I'd like to think I left Sunderland when we finished 10th, even though we got the sack. I left Wigan in a healthy position. And I hope when my time's here that somebody will turn around and say, well, do you know what it is? He's done a decent job here. And that's all you can really do. You can keep striving for a day out like we had at Wembley, which will always be the highlight for me. You know, I've been fortunate to have a couple of promotions, and that's always a great day. But be 2-0 up at Wembley within 10-12 minutes that doesn't take. It's a shame how it ended, but as a highlight, then it's got to be up there.
How's the injury situation for tomorrow?
Injury situation, yeah, they're all okay. They're all okay. There's one absentee that you just don't know about, which will be Hernandez. Hernandez has gone to Uruguay to go and bring his baby home, which will be delivered today. And then he's going to go and register and bring the baby back to England. So he'd probably be missing today and Wednesday.
Steve, when you're on a run like you are, the danger, I suppose, is that players start feeling sorry for themselves. There's no element of that.
Well, the one thing, we were all disappointed a couple of weeks ago. Last week against Tottenham was arguably the best we've played for 45 minutes. And then we've had that bit of luck which goes against you. It could and should have been, for me, a yellow card. Now, there's no given that we could have went on to win the game, but certainly the performance level was far, far more like it. And the performance levels have been like that. We weren't quite good enough against Southampton. We got a result at Liverpool. We got a result against Arsenal. We've played some difficult teams. The big disappointment, of course, was Burnley. So you have to keep everybody focused and make sure that they maintain that belief, because that's vitally important. The belief that we can go and win in this league. It's been a long time since we have done, but we've got to keep persevering.